y'all. It's starting to look like fall actually might happen, and I was thinking it was time for some pasta. I was talking to Peter today, and he reminded me that rigatoni with a white bolognese is his favorite thing and seems to be the same for all my kids. So let's do some rigatoni with a white bolognese, and I hope you all love it as much as my family does. Okay, so let's start cooking. We're going to begin with a nice big fat pot, which really does matter. So we want a big pot, and we're going to do some olive oil in the bottom. And we're going to do a fair bit because there's going to be plenty of cooking going on in here. I'm going to do this kind of on medium heat. And we're going to do half of a chopped yellow onion, 2 carrots, and 1 celery. And all nicely, finely chopped so that those are going to be the base. And we're going to get these so they're nice and softened. Now, while these are softening, we're going to start another part, and that is I have 3 cups of lukewarm water and 1.5 ounces of dried mushrooms. For the recipe, they're supposed to be dried porcinis. Central Market didn't have them, so we have 1.5 ounces of dried wild mushrooms. Whatever kind you want to use really doesn't make a difference. Remember, when you soak them, there's going to be grit at the bottom. So we're going to let these rehydrate, and then before we use the broth, we will strain it just so that we don't have any crunchy bits in the bottom. So that's going to be a good beginning, and we're going to let this go and get nice and softened before we start doing some other stuff. Now my veggies are doing fairly well. They're starting to soften. The onions are becoming translucent, but they're not there yet, which is just what I want. So we're gonna add 1 pound of ground beef, and do not use lean ground beef. Fat has flavor. And I've got that little smidge over 1 pound of sweet Italian sausage. I've got some beautiful sausage here, so I'm gonna pop them out of their skins and dump these in. Pop in the ground beef and get the rest of my sausages going. And then we're gonna break the meat up so they're nice sized chunks. We don't want it to be too small. So maybe walnut size would be great. And this is when, if you don't have a great big nice pot, then you're going to want to take the veggies out. Because what you don't want is the sausage and the ground beef to steam. You want it to brown nicely. So I'm just going to get this all broken up and let some good browning go on. And get it tossed in with the vegetables and the 2 meats mixed together. And it's smelling pretty wonderful already. Now that our meat is fairly brown, which is nice and it's bubbling up beautifully, we're going to add 1.5 cups of dry white wine. And I've got a Sauvignon Blanc, which is just going to do the job. And so we're going to add that, and then I'm going to let this cook down until it is almost, but not quite, dry. So we're going to cook this down a good bit and let all these flavors come together. Our bolognese is now, this is the point at which it's almost dry, which it's not, but it's close enough. So we don't want it all the way dry. So we're now going to add 1.5 cups of beef bouillon, This is a cup and a half of simmering water with a teaspoon of better than bouillon or a bouillon cube that I've dissolved in there. One of the things with a good bolognese is you just keep layering flavor on top of flavor. And so now we're going to let it cook down until it's almost dry again. Be back in a few minutes. Our bolognese is now nicely reduced, and it smells fabulous, and the flavors are all getting in there. And remember those dried mushrooms I've had. So those are all chopped up now and rehydrated. So we're going to pop those in. And again, this was 1.5 ounces of dried mushrooms. And I strained the liquid. It was not particularly sandy this time, which is really nice. Add enough that it comes about halfway up the meat and vegetables. We don't want it soupy, but we want it to be loose. So we're going to let this cook just for about another 10 minutes. And again, we're still on medium heat. We've got a pot of boiling water. Remember I told you this was going to be rigatoni? It's not. The gal at the checker at the market didn't put rigatoni in my bags. So we're going to have gili, which is a very cool shaped pasta. It's going to do exactly the same thing. It just isn't going to be rigatoni. So at any rate, we'll let this cook for a few more minutes and then we'll get it all finished up. Our sauce is cooking nicely, so I'm going to pop some gili into very nicely salted pasta water at a full boil. And I think we're going to be probably about 5 or 6 minutes. So this should all come out probably about the same time, which would be pretty cool. So I'm going to give it a stir so that everything is in there. Our pasta is done. The sauce is looking absolutely gorgeous. So now it's time just to finish it off. It's absolutely delicious, but it does need some salt. So we'll salt it up, and I'll give it a little additional pepper in here, and a little more salt. And give that a stir. And because I did tell you it was going to be a white bolognese, you're going to give it some cream, probably between 1/3 and 1/2 cup, just to give it some richness to the amazing, amazing umami flavors that we get from the mushrooms and the mushroom broth and all of that good stuff. You can see it's not soupy, but it is a loose sauce. And grab our pot of pasta here. Dump that right on into our pasta. And let's see how it is. So at this stage, we're just going to toss everything together. I'm going to turn this heat off. It looks absolutely gorgeous, but I would like this sauce to be a little bit thinner. I'm going to grab some of this pasta water, which is why we don't drain it down the sink, or we at least keep some pasta water for it. It looks pretty fabulous. So now we just have to plate it up and we'll be all set. So we're all plated. We've got the bolognese and it's looking rather fabulous. It smells wonderful. I did chop some parsley, so we'll sprinkle some chopped parsley on top, and then we'll do some nice big shards of Parmesan, and dinner's ready. I hope you all make it. I hope you all love it, and we'll do this again soon. Y'all have a good evening. Thanks. Bye-bye.